everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, an INFP, and today we're going to talk about ambiverts. This can be kind of a hot topic in the MBTI community because a lot of people are confused about whether they're an extrovert, whether they're an introvert, and kind of the middle ground is ambiversion, which is kind of like in between. You can be a little extroverted, a little introverted, kind of combined, but you're not like siding one way or the other. So the question is, does ambiversion exist? And are you an ambivert? I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but my view is that ambiversion doesn't exist. That is just kind of like something that's made up for people who are just undecided and who feel like they're in a middle ground. There is some truth to that, but it's not ambiversion. It's just because if you think of extroversion and introversion on a scale, everyone is on a scale. So introverts are on a scale, extroverts are on a scale. Some fall more extreme one way or the other. So I do believe that there are extroverted introverts and introverted extroverts. And what I mean by that is that you can be an extrovert but still exhibit some introverted traits or feel a little more introverted than some other extroverts. Introverts are also on a scale. Some are very introverted and some are a little more extroverted even though they're still clearly introverts. And that's what I mean by, if you think you're ambiverted, I would suggest you think more of the long lines of you're more one way on a scale than the other, but you're still an extrovert or an introvert. Something I learned from my philosophy class is the law of non contradiction. So basically, the law of non contradiction is you can't be two things at once. You can't be both an extrovert and an introvert, and that's kind of what ambiversion is suggesting. You can't be both at once. And if you were to suggest that, then you might get a little muddied in the waters of MBTI of being like, well, if that's the case, if I can be both extroverted and introverted, then what's to keep me from being all the MBTI types at once? Which clearly is kind of making like a muddle of things. But some people believe that. Some people believe you can be any type. You can be both type. You can be two types at once. You can be both extroverted and introverted. And that's simply not true. Even if you seem to equally enjoy alone time and spending time with people, and you may get energy from both, you're probably still gonna favor one over the other. Typically, there's one you need more than the other. In case you're not aware, introversion and extroversion is largely defined by the direction of your energy and what energizes you. Introverts feel energized by alone time, and that recharges them. Extroverts feel energized talking with people and socializing, and that energizes them. And of course, that's not to say that extroverts never need alone time and that introverts never want to socialize with people. Because of course, all of us have a little bit of that mixed in. The most introverted introvert still needs people and still enjoys talking to people, but they're still an introvert. For those who are confused, I don't want to generalize, but I would say what I've seen in the people who are confused about being ambiverted typically are introverted extroverts, specifically ENTPs or ENFPs. And that's because they're NE-DOMs and they tend to be the most introverted extroverts of the MBTI world. So they often get confused about whether they're actually an introvert or whether they're really an extrovert. Usually, just from me looking at them, I can tell they're extroverted just by, I'm not stereotyping, I don't want to do that, but just by seeing how they interact, and like they typically have like a large group of friends and they typically spend a lot of time socializing with them, but then they have periods where they need downtime. And NE is not specifically a people function like FE. It's more about ideas and possibilities and goals and projects, and people fit into that, but it's not like NE's main goal. That's why a lot of times, like, I feel like ENTPs especially are fine with like periods of alone time and just like having space in their head to work on their projects and stuff, and then have their periods where they socialize with people. ENFPs, there are introverted ones, but I feel like I haven't met very many. Like the ones I've seen have been pretty clearly extroverted, but some of them still get confused. And they do need some periods of downtime depending on, there are more introverted ENFPs. It just kind of depends on like what kind of ENFP they are. So typically, if you're confused about whether you're an extrovert or an introvert and think you're ambiverted, you're probably likely an extrovert. But you may be an introvert. That's totally possible. There are extroverted introverts who may be confused because they enjoy socializing with people a lot, so they think that they're kind of in between. To my knowledge, ambiversion isn't really like a professional term. Like extroversion and introversion is like scientifically documented in like the big five and stuff like that can be like measured. Ambiversion is kind of like a made up term, kind of. And like it's just like describing, yeah, basically like confusion about like, I don't know if I'm an extrovert or introvert, so I'm just going to be kind of both. So no, I don't believe ambiversion exists. If you think you're an ambivert, I would suggest you look more into extroversion and introversion and pay special attention of where you get your energy and then where you get your energy most. So if you enjoy both socializing with people a lot and spending a lot of time alone, like which one would you really be suffering without? Like typically one is going to be at least a little more dominant than the other. And if you're confused, just think of it in terms of like, am I an extroverted introvert or am I an introverted extrovert? So I hope that helped you a little bit. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would appreciate you hitting the subscribe button. Please leave comments. I appreciate them. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.